Good afternoon, my name's Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies for today's Monday's musings. What energies? Well, the energies for the week, and that feels quite important literally as I say it, because I had no idea where this reading was going to go. As I say it, to really feel into what energies it is we are looking into. When we do that, we can actually then see where we are viewing things from. So before I started the camera, before I turned on the light, before action this week in particular, I found myself looking at all the objects that side behind me, maybe that side, who knows, but that side in particular behind me. And what you can see there are gifts from people that I've had the honor of sharing healings with, workshops with in particular. There's a few there from this weekend's Moon Eye Key. There's some medicine bottles there. There's a beautiful jewelry box encouraging me to stand. It's got a peacock on the front, encouraging me to stand in my own beauty. There's also a picture there of myself as a child in the background. A glorious, that side, glorious, what side are we coming from here? A glorious picture there somewhere, pointing, with feathers on from a dear friend in Canada, who I also shared healing space with and dispatch with and ceremonies with. And, you know, as I look at those objects behind me, I see healing. I see friendships, relationships. I see, yes, my inner child. I see wisdom. I see medicine. I can see the energy that I'm actually looking at, the energy I'm actually looking into. And that feels really important on the one hand this week, so that we can then turn our focus to what else is there. And obviously now I can point this way. I have a guitar, I have music, I have a radiator, I have warmth. I've just signed up for a laughter therapy course. You know, it feels like this week the energy has great potential. I'm looking at the Ace of Pentacles in front of me. Great potential to plant seeds based on what we are looking into and from where, and what we are hoping to achieve as a result with that. So how can we be supported? Well, reaching out as and when needed, really observing what we are observing, really being honest and authentic with ourselves this week. What is it we actually are looking for? I'm going through a bit of a manifestation journey at the moment with the home. And there's so much coming to light for me in regards to what it is I want, where I'm reacting from, what it is I'm trying to manifest and how. But also some really deep-seated hidden things that I hadn't been aware of are coming to the surface. And this morning that actually included the energy that I'm looking for. What am I actually looking for? Well, I'm looking for safety and security in my own home, which brings up a lot of stories for me. But I'm also looking at the magic and where at one point that has been lost for me. So this morning with the daily guidance, I woke up to the song Where Are You Christmas? And I knew it was my inner child, wrong side, my inner child everywhere, my inner child reminding me where I may have lost the magic. And today it just happens to be my late grandmother's birthday. And I do recall a big chunk of my life, some of the magic being lost as a result of endings and death. And these are things that we need to take into consideration before we bring in the new. As I was writing the guidance today, instead of writing water damage, I nearly wrote Easter damage. And I was feeling into that earlier. And you know, we have Christmas, we have the birth of magic, we have the hope, the wishes, the dreams, the birth of Christ, the return of the light, however you want to look at that. And then in Easter, we celebrate the death of that, the end of that. We celebrate crucifixions, we celebrate pain, we celebrate chocolate and sweets and all things that may not necessarily be very good for us. We celebrate new beginnings. We celebrate lots of different things at lots of different times of the year. And when I feel into that, there's a confusion there, a encouragement, an invitation to really look at what we are celebrating. What are we celebrating in this present moment? Because it's that we are going to be bringing in. Recognizing our body as the Ace of Pentacles, recognizing us as the fertile land for whatever seeds we are intending to plant. This week is going to be key. How? By looking at the energy. Looking at the energy we're actually trying to work alongside with, but also bring forth in ourselves as a result. So when I feel into not only my home, but the things that I want to start to manifest into my life, that would explain why I've suddenly randomly signed up to study laughter therapy. Yep, that would make sense. That would also explain the Christmas song this morning. That would also explain the ability to look behind me now and see lessons learned and medicine and beauty and gratitude and healing, all from this journey with my own inner child or inner wild. And this week, that overall, regardless what happens this week overall, that is the gift we are being given, the ability to change how we see things, ourselves in particular. So the other thing, a few things came to light today. One of them being I plugged in my microphone and it didn't seem to want to work. No matter where I plugged it in, it didn't seem to want to work. And I frantically put it in different ports and, started to blame my very, very old laptop and think, well, I'll have to use an old way of communicating. And actually all it took was time. It took time for the signals to catch up with my microphone from my old laptop to my new microphone, from my old hard drive, whatever was being stored in front of me, to how it was being communicated. Allowing that time this week is going to be key, because what happens when we pause before we speak, when we assess what is going on before we verbalize it, we are having chance to transform anything that doesn't need to be shared, anything that doesn't need to be continued. And this week, more than ever, that is going to be a real pivotal moment in communication, not only with each other, not only with ourselves, but with whatever it is we are trying to manifest and call forth as a result. There are a lot of hidden consequences or believed consequences when it comes to manifestation. There are a lot of hidden views when it comes to what we believe karma is, a lot of misconceptions in regards to what manifestation actually is. I was walking my dog yesterday after a wonderful dispatcho with a group of beautiful souls, feeling really uncomfortable, not quite understanding what that was until I got back home to see half of the parcel we'd placed in the fire hadn't been burnt, and bringing that into the home to actually burn that, with consciousness, being very aware of the things that hadn't been transformed yet, the things that needed to be broken down, that needed to be transmuted, that needed to be released before anything can change. And one of those things, I've just noticed my neighbour has cut down a lot of trees in order to park their car. It's their land, it's their prerogative, it's entirely up to them. And it really stirred me up. Not only because of it being nature and everything else and home to several birds, but also I've tended to those trees before anyone occupied that plot of land. And yeah, feeling into knowing when there's a time to hand that responsibility over to others, to know when there's a time to pass over whatever now no longer needs to be looked after by you, and to trust the process, to really trust the process. I was discussing that with a really good friend of mine, and it took them back to their own memory of chopping down trees to allow more light in, to allow more growth of things that hadn't had an opportunity to grow beneath these trees that were overshadowing things. And when I feel into that, I do feel into the ancestor type energy and things that may be overshadowing us, in particular with manifestation, that aren't ours to carry anymore. But one of the things I really felt into in our conversation was the consequences, the view that there's always a cost, there's always a price at whatever it is we are being asked to manifest. And that's really going to come to light this week, but perhaps not in the way we would have expected. And I'd love to say I know what that is, but I don't, because it's in a way that we wouldn't have expected. So it feels like that is a great moment to really connect to the energy of the cards, the tarot, any messages that wish to come through now. With no expectations, with no assumptions, with as little as possible judgments here. If we want something new to come in, to allow space for that. Okay. And that is that Ace of Pentacles. That new physical beginning isn't a job, it isn't a relationship, it isn't even money, it isn't a home, it is our ability to hold space for something new. How well are we doing with that this week? We are going to be shown. So interesting. I was literally just saying we are going to be shown how well we are able to look at things from a different perspective, and my camera just cut out, my microphone just cut out. So yes, how well we're going to be able to keep flowing with these almost reboots in how we see, and as a result we are seeing, and how we communicate, and as a result we are heard this week in particular. Okay, so when I do look back behind me, yes, there are lots of different symbolisms, lots of different energies there, but underneath it all, that's all me. That's all me. So really acknowledging that and really stepping into that this week. What are we really building our altar to? What are we really worshipping? Who? Okay. Oh, card has turned over there. 8 of Wands, and underneath was the Star, and then the King of Wands. Okay, so really owning our actions this week is what's going to bring in the more rapid changes, the bigger vision that is needed in regards to ourselves as the creators, as the ability to release what no longer serves us. Sometimes we can really feel as if we need to do more work than we do. Now, when it comes to justice, when it comes to justice, when it comes to healing, I'm a big advocate of many interwoven stories within the human body, within the aura, within our blueprint, within our ancestry, within the land, and that all needs healing or shifting, or at least acknowledging, right? However, on the other side of the sword of justice, there is also the awareness that it can be like that if we allow it to be, and that takes some real high observing energy, witnessing energy, compassionate release energy this week. If we can allow, even when we come to say, well, that happened because of that, and we're actually giving it a story. If we can just allow ourselves to hold space, to witness, to feel, and to release this week, then we may find bigger changes are available than we could have ever imagined in regards to how we manifest. Okay, so this week, let's have some guidance daily. She says, another card falling over. Oh, 2 cards falling over actually. The Page of Pentacles and the 4 of Swords and the 10 of Swords. So when those moments get too much, when we're trying to figure things out from a immature perspective, and that's going to be a real bitter pill to swallow this week. It may be that we're not being as mature as we think we are when it comes to manifestation. The best thing here when we get caught up in this mental mindset is to rest. To rest and allow whatever needs to shift to shift. It almost feels like a petulant child. The more energy we give it, the more attention we give it, it's almost like it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper and taking us down our own rabbit holes this week. So being aware of that, being aware of it's not an insomnia, but it's more of a mental overdrive, and it's our own doing. Being very acutely aware of that this week. Okay, are we going to be able to break the energy down? If not, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if there are things that we can't make sense of this week. There's a huge level of trust there required, and underneath all manifestation, it is that level of trust, that trust in your own ability to create and deliver what you are trying to achieve, that trust in timing, that trust in the universe around you, that trust in what is for you doesn't pass you by, real trusting in all the what we may have seen as cliche, or I know I have, energies this week is going to be key, because what I feel happening is as that occurs, the back of my eyes feel as if they're blurring over, and I can see 3 hoops, and I can see a serpent in the third eye. There's a real shift of stories needed in regards to how we view manifestation as a whole. Wow, look at that. Okay, so yeah, the Queen of Coins here, smack bang in the middle of her forehead, is where the light lies. So how we see our ability to manifest is the ultimate grounding that is required, the ultimate nurture this week. How many times do we say, oh, that's not how I wanted it, and this is what I wanted, and I expected this, and that pressure that we put on ourselves. If that was a child we were delivering, or if that was a relationship we were trying to work on, if that was nature and we stood over this flower demanding that it grow a certain way, what would be the impact? We've done a lot of studies. Dr. Emoto did a lot of studies on water and plants, and speaking to them in a beautiful, constructive, nurturing manner, and how well they grow as a result. And the alternative to that, how many times do we speak to ourselves in a very encouraging, empowering manner when it comes to manifestation, and particularly when it doesn't quite work out how we believe it should? And that's where we come straight back to justice again. We come full circle to that balance that is needed to keep our light our heart light. Our light heart, yes, our light heart led, but our heart light in whatever it is we are trying to achieve. And I fully respect that can be difficult when you have bills looming over your head, or like us, potential eviction. And I fully understand how heavy that can be. However, matching the vibration doesn't change it. We know this. We know this scientifically. We know this energetically. Really shifting that perspective and owning it this week. Now, I'm not saying bypass what is occurring, but we can lighten up ourselves as the vessel for the change. Okay, bringing it full circle, it now feels good. It now feels good to do the reading for the week bit by bit. It needs to come full circle. Whatever is occurring needs to come full circle. Looking at things from all different angles, seeing different stories, seeing how we can heal things, but actually doing the healing. It needs to come full circle. How in different approaches, if something isn't working, trying something different in what it is we then take forward as a result. Are we still going to take the stories forward? Are we still going to take the need to heal forward? Or are we going to take the end result forward this week? Really, really, that's key, because at the bottom we have 5 of Cups, almost knowing that it is that we are holding on to now. Yes, it can be daunting. It can be daunting. Our stories can actually make us who we are. You know, yes, I can see on this altar all these beautiful parts of my journey. They're symbolisms of who I am. They're not who I am. Recognizing that this week, no matter what is going on for you, no matter what is coming up for you to be shifted, healed, acknowledged, worked with, however you want it, loved, yes, loved. That's what it's doing. It's coming up to be loved, and it doesn't matter. The symbolism doesn't matter whether it's a tarot card or a healing or a divine message. The symbolism doesn't matter. Underneath it all, what is going on for you? You know, what do you actually need right now? Okay. Until we recognize our value as a vessel for co-creation, we will never be part of it, and we will always feel as if we are a victim to circumstance. Okay. So yes, we have the 7 of Wands at the bottom of the pack, and that is almost leading quite a decisive action. And we're almost too busy defending our right to move on, defending our right to choose, defending our right to heal, that we're not actually doing it. We're just stood in that doorway of potential. Just stood in that doorway of potential. What would happen if we let all that go, turned around, and just kept moving? Okay. And that, I feel a regurgitation in my throat. I feel like it's really stuck there. Like there's, oh, I'm not sure about that. Well, allowing everyone to have their own views this week could be quite pivotal as well. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's no point forcing it. We are ready when we are ready. Yeah. And allowing other people to have that as well. And yourself. And yourself. You can lead a horse to water, right? Okay. Ace of Cups there. Having that compassion. Having that compassion for yourself and for whatever is going on. Right. I need to, one more time. So what one was going to come out? Interesting. The 10 of Wands was going to come out, but it's like, no, actually, we need to shuffle one more time. Energies for this week, because that was then, this is now, and that feels quite pivotal. Energies for this week and how to best navigate them. The moon. Okay. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, overall. So we don't have any major players until the end of the week. That feels quite important, because the cards that we do have are cards that we've already seen. There are going to be things coming up to the surface that we're already aware of, that we've already travelled with, that almost want to come up, that petulant child type energy, almost want to come up for some more attention this week. And it isn't going to be until the end of the week, or at least midway through the week, that we start to really feel bigger energies coming in, going, okay, that's enough now. Okay, you've done all that you can with this situation. Whether that's for us to realize that, that could very well be, you know, the moment we start to say, actually, yeah, I'm kind of done here. I'm ready to actually move forward. I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. By the time we get to that point of surrender, that could be when those other energies come in. But that's a process. That's a work in process, right? We have to get to that point of being able to receive, and that's an ongoing journey for us all. That's that Ace of Cups. We have to do whatever it is we have to do in order to be ready to receive, and that's different for everybody. Or is it? Because underneath the pack we do have the moon, and what we see here is the feminine just being raw and naked in our own emotions. So the process of being able to receive is different for everybody because of all the different stories, but actually our ability to feel, our ability to be with our emotions, our ability to see beyond the illusion at times of these narratives that we have given ourselves that have stopped us from invoking and embodying our feminine is exactly the same for us all. It's an emotional wisdom that is available within us all. And once we realize that this week, then yeah, a lot of things are going to be much easier to navigate. So overall for this week, yes, of course, we have the King of Cups. So basically everything I've just said. Flowing with our emotions this week is going to be key in our actions. So it's one thing to feel, it's another thing to do something about them. So keeping that balance, going back to that justice image here, keeping that balance. Yes, it is all about feeling this week, but we can recognize that once we step into the feminine, the whole point of embodying the feminine is we become the vessel of change. We become the receiving cup here. We become able to then co-create and to conceive. And that comes from receiving as an action, but also then doing something with that, to flow, to be part of the flow, to recognize what your flow is. And be honest with yourself, because on Monday we have that Seven of Wands that has come back up, that defensive energy here when it comes to spirit, ambition, drive. No, this is what works for me. Does it? Be completely honest with yourself. Does it? Seven is endurance. So that could be that actually it's this that needs to be taken forward and you know what is right for you. It could also be on the other side, quite a confusing energy, which is also needed, a conflicting cosmic contraction type energy that is going to stretch and expand your view on what is working for you now. Seven can also be unnecessary endurance. So, really feeling into whether or not this defensive energy of your stories, of your healing, of where you are, of your spirituality, whatever that may be, actually works for you. Again, it's going to be different for everybody, but acknowledging that if we can acknowledge that it's different for everybody, then we can acknowledge that it's different for ourselves as well. And on the Tuesday, that's where we're being invited to actually rest and sit with our mind, to allow our mind to come into, I want to say fruition, but it's more, well, no, it is fruition, recognizing that structure of the mind is what brings fruition to all the other areas. So we have the Four of Swords here, and we have the masculine resting. When we feel into this need to defend or this need to endure our human rights, almost, that's what it feels like. What does that do to the masculine? Is the masculine able to say, okay, this is so right that I don't need to do anything about it? It will rectify itself because I believe in this so much. If so, I can rest. If not, then we may not be able to rest at a time when it would be the most fruitful, and we may be driven by our mind on the Tuesday. Either or, come the Wednesday, these cosmic contractions, this conflict that we may be feeling in who we are and where we are and our own flow and what works for us anymore. Come the Wednesday, it leads us into the Three of Wands, that choice to move forward. And I emphasize the word choice. It is only the three. Three is creativity and it is birth, but it is right at the early stages. So think of it as when you're in labor, 3 centimeters, you're becoming established now. So allowing this discomfort almost on the Monday and Tuesday to really help you recognize when to act and when to rest so that you can become fully established in your own creative ability. That's where you're going to see yourself from a completely different perspective come the Thursday, and other people around you as a result. It's not that the ship has sailed. I get this headache feeling like running out of time, like the ship is sailing and I'm down here and everything else is moving forward. It's not the case. It's about you seeing why you would believe that, you seeing why you would believe that you're not getting your turn, that you're missing out. Where is that coming from? That defensive around your own masculinity, perhaps, that need to almost wake up the actions before they are ready. Maybe you do need to wake up the actions. Maybe you are procrastinating, but that's going to be something that's going to take so many different views come the Thursday, because you have the Hanged Man here, and that's where we come back to the heart. We come back to the Christ consciousness. We come back to the Joker, the Heyoka, the Fool, the Clown. You know, this Hanged Man here, I absolutely adore, because that is very much what he looks like. The trapeze artist, the circus. All life is a circus, right? Having fun with it all on the Thursday. And behind him, you can see the moon. You can see the moon that's underneath it all, and the feminine. Oh, falling all over the place. The feminine suggesting, do you know what? She's actually upside down now. How funny was that? Do you know what? I've done it again. Maybe we should just have some fun with these emotions. No, hang on. Everything is topsy-turvy on the Thursday. So trying to figure things out on the Thursday is going to be really rather futile. Maybe just having some fun. Maybe just being suspended in the suspense on the Thursday. Allowing things to have their moment of being uncomfortable. Have the opportunity to know where we want to move forward. That's what discomfort does, right? It teaches us we don't want to be in that situation anymore. Having that, allowing that opportunity to show us where we can then move forward, and just letting time level out a little bit. I'm looking at the time thing here, letting time just level things out, giving things time, taking a breather. When I was doing the blog for the new moon, it ended up being for the whole month actually, and I'll put a link to it in the comments, but it wasn't really until the Virgo moon that things start to slot into place in a more organized manner, and not really until we go into Pisces season, which isn't quite yet. So allowing things to level out until we go from then into Pisces season is what's going to help lighten the load here. And that feels like key on the Friday, when the card we then have is another major arcana, which is the Sun. Knowing that anything is actually possible, that we can create anything, and that can be enough. On the Friday, allowing that truth to reverberate through your whole body, that you can and that you will create everything that you need. Trusting that. There's a real need for trust there. And once we can feel into that, then that's where we're going to face the choices that have actually derailed us, the choices and decisions that are needed. And I feel that in my higher heart going, that have actually almost drained us, left us slightly anemic, but also connected us to a higher wisdom within. The choices that say, yeah, but where are you going with all of this? It's one thing to feel the discomfort. It's one thing to see things from different perspectives and want to move forward. And it's one thing to know that you have the power to do that. What does that look like? What decisions now need to be made? And this is on the Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Come the Saturday, yeah, we may be shown in reflection to others, but also in the stories that, you know, you have the serpent right at the bottom here, in the stories that we may be refusing to shed, and how they may be distracting us back from this truth, that it is the discomfort that causes us to look at things from different perspectives and see where we may not be believing in our own light and our own ability to create. So, what choices have we perhaps been shying away from as a result? On the Sunday, yes, we have the Nine of Wands here. I wanted to say the Nine of what? The Knight of what? No, I wanted to say the Nine of what, and it's the Knight of Wands. The Nine of what? Yes, it may be the completion to all these questions of what it is actually all about. But in this deck, it is the Knight of Wands here, and we have the Dragon energy. Right smack bam at the bottom. I know we've just had the new moon, not the new moon, the new year of the dragon. And yes, I can appreciate there is going to be a lot about the dragon spiritually, with Chinese astrology, but with a lot of the energy coming up. And it really feels like it's important to connect to what that means to you. Dragons, of course, but what do dragons mean to you? Is it a myth that's way out there that doesn't mean anything? Is it a power? Is it luck? Is it beauty? Is it something to be frightened of? Because if we can really connect into what dragons mean to us, or the archetypal energy of the dragon, we can really connect to what our own energy, our own power means to us, and just how willing we are to ride that. I see like the dragon riders, just how willing we are to ride that power. Okay, so it feels important not to complicate things, but it does feel important to almost compartmentalize things so that we can see a better view, but recognizing the difference between breaking things down and giving it order and structure, and that yearning to find more answers in an area where there aren't any at the moment, and thus complicating things and moving us away from the decisions that need to be made. What is actually in front of us right now? So what is in front of us right now? Well, we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, before I go on to what is in front of us right now, straight underneath we have the Death card and the Seven of Cups. That indecision, that emotional indecision, yeah, it's time for that to stop and to actually acknowledge what it is we emotionally want, what it is our emotions have been guiding us towards all this time. We may love the answer, we may not like the answer, we may fear the answer, we may doubt the answer. This is the dragon. The emotions are the dragon. How do we feel about them? Do we even believe in our emotions for the power that they are, for the change that they can bring? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 major arcanas. The structure is going to come from the fates this week. It may not feel like it. There may be times where we feel as if nothing is going on and we're just treading water almost, but that is actually an illusion with the moon card. Let me put that at the front because that's where she was. The moon card, the emotions are at the forefront this week, and for some, the wisdom of the emotions may be an unknown territory, and they may feel almost tethered to them, like they can't break free of them, or that they want to break free of them, and that they're just being enticed into this lull of insecurity and infatuation and sensuality and hedonism, and oh yeah, I'll just feel my emotions. But actually, this week the emotions must always come first, otherwise everything is going to feel like an illusion. If we are not aware of what is emotionally going on all levels, mind, spirit, emotions, physical actions, they all come together. If we are not aware of them, we are unable to connect to the fifth element, which is our own ability to combine them all together. The more aware we are of them, the more greater perspective we're going to see, not only of ourselves, but the world around us. And the more we're going to realize that we have time. We have time to look in the mirror and see what is actually going on here. So I've just noticed, only just noticed, that this egg timer is held within a mirror, allowing what is being reflected back to emphasize and balance the time that it takes to get things done. We may not like what we're seeing, but if we can stop, and we may love it, if we can stop and we can truly appreciate it, it's going to level out where we're at. It's going to bring us into that essence of now. And from there, we're going to be able to create with a far greater, not only perspective, wisdom, strength. I want to say innocence, but it isn't an innocence. It feels like taking innocence for what it truly is, and it's that energy of light. It's that scientific, academic, innate wisdom of what light actually is, rather than seeing it as innocence or inner child. Or yeah, it's so powerful. So powerful. And the fates will show us. It will show us in the decisions that we make. It will show us in the decisions that we don't make. It will show us in the reflections all around us this week. But ultimately, the structure will come from major events this week that will have an impact up until the full moon, that will start to really take form from the Piscean season, and that will really start to come into play. I'm looking at the equinox with the sun, but and Easter, and there's quite a type energy there, but also as we go into the equinox in June, the solstice. The solstice as well. So yeah, from the full moon, Pisces season, the spring Sabbath, and then or Easter, and then into the solstice. Okay, so let's take a moment there. The new moon and the full moon, that period there. The Piscean season, that period there. The Easter season or Astara, that period there, and then the solstice. These are all going to be linked to everything that happens this week. So now is a week to get your journals out. Jot down any dreams, jot down anything that comes to you, any ideas that come to you. Yeah, over the next 7 days, jot down anything that you're feeling in regards to where you want to go, what flow means to you, what you want to bring in as a result, what needs healing, what needs shifting, and how to best move forward with that, especially recurrent themes this week. So it almost feels like every day is going to have an emotional theme. Jotting them down, being very aware of them, because over those 4 time periods, so from now until the solstice, but literally separated into those time periods, so the new moon, the full moon, the Pisces season, Ostara, and the solstice, these are really powerful, pivotal moments that are all going to be affected and are already affecting what is going to be occurring this week. So there is 1, 2, 3. Okay. 2 cup cards. We have the 7 of cups and the King of Cups, but first I want to go to the sword energy. We have the 4 of swords, and the masculine is resting. No matter what happens this week, find stability in a stable mindset. Do not act unless your mind is on board. Really be aware of where your thoughts are at this week before you start to act, react, or whatever may come up. Really being acutely aware of that this week. Cup wise, again, before I go to the emotions, it's like I want to avoid the emotions, which is really, really interesting. But before I go to the emotions, no, I am going to go to them. So we have 1 sword card, we have 2 cup cards, and then we have 3 wand cards. So we have that beautiful balance here, but its consistency comes from mindset, then onto the emotions. And that may feel like it's out of key for some people, particularly those on the medicine wheel or those that work with the pagan wheel or whatever. That may feel slightly off kilter. Mindset, going into the unknown. Where is my head at? Always, where is my head at? But then moving on to our emotions. How is that affecting my emotions? And there you have a union of the 7 of Cups and the King of Cups. Not all is as it seems when it comes to the flow that you're working with. Not all is as it seems when it comes to your belief around your actions and how intuitively based they are this week. And it's about really being open and honest to that. Recognizing where you may be creating from old stagnant emotions and how that may be having an impact on any confusion you have in regards to what you want, any choices that need to be made, knowing that it's almost being done as a form of protection, but really feeding into your own evolved masculine ability to hold space for these emotions now, for this feminine within you now, and recognizing you're in a far different place, recognizing that the biggest illusion here is your ability to hold space for your own emotions. And when that happens, yes, a lot more things may become clear in regards to how you flow and how you intuitively act as a result. Then we can move on to the one. So always the thoughts and the emotions. Where's my head at? Where are my emotions at here before I start doing things? Am I feeling up to the task at hand? If not, resting. There are then 3 wand cards, so the actual creative force comes from the creative force and allowing that to happen. So having that drive behind it, having that spirit and that passion behind it, without it, it's going to be quite difficult this week, because the next stage is to allow that to build up. And the way that that does that is almost embracing any defensiveness, almost recognizing where we may be holding ourselves back, concentrating too much on what has occurred, concentrating too much on what we want in front of us, concentrating too much on what everybody else is doing, and bringing it back to the self, holding your own light, holding space for your own light here, allowing the mind to rest, opening up to receive the emotions, and then holding space for your own truth and your own light is what's going to move us forward in the 3 of Wands. So that we don't go charging in like a bull in a china shop, so that we don't go charging in and destroy things, but that we can keep that even balance, so that we can really feel into what are we defending really, and from who. Are we keeping ourselves safe from our own light this week? Might be worth looking into. Again, going back to how we view ourselves, our own spiritual energy, our own force, and our own power. Okay, so if we could have 1 card, how to best not navigate. Okay, so this week is going to really show us, it's almost like it's the first week of 2024, and I'm aware obviously the Chinese New Year, but it really feels like that as well. It's really going to show us how to best navigate 2020. I'm going to say 2025. Okay, one card. Either way, it's going to show us how to best navigate the whole year this week. So what is that one card? So there's actually 3. What I really felt was to hone into the presence. To hone into the presence is what's, as we know, is what's going to help us navigate this week, this year, this month, this life. And the card that's in the middle is the Page of Swords. So really honing into where our mind is at and the maturity that may be needed here, particularly when it comes to the Ten of Wands, with things that are getting a bit too much information, too much receiving, too much desire, too much carrying things, too much spirituality perhaps. I see that quite a lot, you know, a lot of insights coming in and, oh, I've been told this, this and this, and no actions. Keeping things balanced this week. How? By really looking at where our mindset is and working with it. It's going to take some physical work because we have the 8 of Pentacles. So recognizing if we don't want these drives, desires, ambitions to get too much, when we feel drawn to act, when we feel that passion and that drive, that yearning, act. Because if we don't, what happens then? Obviously the list becomes a lot longer, but our belief in ourselves starts to really, really diminish. Our belief in our ability to achieve and deliver and create things starts to really diminish. And keep an eye out for any perfectionism, particularly as we go into the full moon in Virgo, that may stand in the way of that. There's a fine line between overdoing and procrastination, but when we procrastinate, what we need to do builds up, which results in overdoing. And when we overdo, we get tired, so we end up procrastinating. So looking again at your own flow in regards to your mental agility. That's what it all comes down to, what you believe you are capable of. Today, tomorrow, next month, next week, next year, next lifetime. Yeah. And it's that we need to keep an eye out for, because we've come right back again to the 5 of Cups and the 7 of Swords, really looking at where our mind may be running away with us, really looking at where the viewpoints of others may be hidden within our own psyche and almost dictating what we believe we are capable of, and seeing ourselves from quite a disadvantaged position as a result, and deciding whether or not we're ready to let go of that. Back to the Page of Coins and the Page of Coins and the 3 of Swords here. Being present in the moment may bring forth some heartbreak. It may bring forth some desires that we might not want to face, some decisions that may need to come forward, some inner child pain, some previous experiences that we may not feel we are ready to look at, but avoiding them isn't going to get rid of them either. And we are, back to the Page of Swords and the 5 of Coins now. So we've gone from the 5 of Cups, emotionally, that stagnant energy and that inability to move forward from a real lower perspective of ourselves and our emotions, to how that then impacts our ability to manifest as a result. The great news is they're 5s, they're turning points. The bridge between them all again comes back to the mindset, comes back to how mature we are being and how we choose to see ourselves and our innocence for the maturity that it can actually bring. Right, so I've gone back to the 7 of Cups, and it feels quite important this week if we just keep searching, as you've just seen, if we just keep searching, recognizing why we're looking for extra answers, why we need that confirmation, and what we might not quite be believing in this week in particular in regards to how we manifest and our emotional ability to do so with ease, grace, and a childlike wonder and innocence. Take care, have fun, and I shall see you next week.